2016 stakeholders on selection of National Assembly candidates convened by the President of the Republic. On the 6th of March 2017, President Adama Barrow convened a meeting of stakeholders of Coalition 2016 to discuss the impasse in the selection of candidates for the National Assembly elections. It was intimated that nomination of candidates is just around the corner, while rancor still prevails in the ranks of the coalition stakeholders. He indicated that proposals have been given for party and independent candidature supported by the coalition. He said, as far as he is concerned, both are tactical alliances. He prevailed on members to deliberate on the merits of the two proposals. The debate centered around two concerns. Some members felt that the independent candidature would lead to the destruction of their parties without increasing chances of winning seats. Others expressed that independent candidature removes the party tag, while they claim that this, if left, could lead to voter apathy. After long deliberation on the issue, on the type of candidature, it was put to a vote. 6 stakeholders endorsed the party candidature supported by the coalition as the way to end the impasse. One maintained the position that an independent candidature supported by the coalition is the most viable way forward. One stakeholder expressed neutrality. The stakeholders are to discuss the modality of selection on party lines today. This is how matters stand as far as candidature is concerned for the coalition for the April 6, 2017 National Assembly elections. It is important to mention that prior to this, there were 2 positions that eventually led to concern by the Gambian voters, which ultimately led to this process of engaging in dialogue to end the impasse. The floor is now open for questions and answers. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Good morning. Are we going to allow them to ask questions concerning the other issue?
It's okay.
Emphatically made it clear that the coalition, members of the coalition are now going for a tactical alliance, and the details of which will be worked out today or tomorrow. Is this the position of the coalition party?
Well, I think what is expressed as far as that meeting is concerned is what I am telling you, that it is considered that both party candidature supported by the coalition or independent candidature supported by the coalition are both seen as tactical alliances. I think that is what is stated. That was the view expressed at the meeting. That what is now clear is that parties are going to be selecting their candidates, and then the parties will sit down, the stakeholders will sit down and strayed on where to put candidates.
Thank you very much. My name is Simi Arena. I work with SMBC and a stranger for VOA. Thank you for inviting me press once again. My question is, Mr. Sala, I just want to know the position of PUIS in this whole issue. If I get you right, the President, after deliberation with party leaders, agreed that tactical alliance is the way forward for the coalition 2016. From your statement, I realized that your party position is not very clear. You envisage an independent coalition, and others envisage a tactical. At the end of the day, the President gives his blessing to the tactical coalition. So I just want to know, what's the position of PDOIS? And secondly, there was a press conference held on Sunday by GMC, UDP, NRP, where, it was a heated press conference resulting to the assault of one of my colleagues, which we condemn in our strongest term, and we hope that the President or those involved will, bring those responsible to justice. I want to know, Mr. Salah, are you still the official spokesperson of the coalition government 2016? This is an issue raised by many. My party, who is the Minister of Interior, told journalists at that press conference that Mr. Salah is no more representing the coalition as the official spokesperson. I want to hear from you. Are you still the legitimate spokesperson of the coalition 2016 that was in change? Thank you.
Well, politicians are very strange animals. So if you don't understand them, definitely you will have a problem in dealing with them. But being one of them, I'm not always perturbed, but help you to understand realities. Again, I must emphasize that you must use the language that has already been uttered. The dialogue was brought about by the President of the Republic. And according to him, I have told you, he considers both party candidature and independent candidature as tactical alliances. I guess he did that to try to mend fence so that no one will go and claim one form of victory or the other, that he has abandoned this for that. I think that is his objective, that these are tactical alliances both, and that they should discuss the merit. And eventually, I've told you the result. The position of DOI has always been clear. From the very beginning, when the discussion emanated, DOI's position was that whatever the general body decides, it is suitable to the party. And that was declared the first day when the discussion started, before this particular dialogue. And it is because some members indicated that if you put a party and a party tag, some may decide not to vote for that party because it's not the party of their choice. And that if you have independent candidature, the likeliness is that everybody will come to vote. That is what led DOI, in the first instance, to support those who held that view. That view was expressed at the meeting, at the dialogue, and when they reached conclusion and voted, DOI's position is neutral. That is, it really does not matter as far as DOI is concerned. What matters is the merit of the tactic and the purpose to which the tactic will be used and whether it will achieve the desired results. That is the position of DOI. Because as far as DOI is concerned, either will definitely enhance its standing in Gambian society, but it does not want to be an object of controversy. Now, the issue of the spokesperson, well, I am here. I think that is enough evidence to show that Halifa Saleh is the spokesperson. And I must tell you that, Brother Mai, these are people who have learned one or two things from me, and it is not my duty to destroy people who I should try to build up for the future of this country. So there is really no controversy between me and Mai. He has his opinions, and he has the right to express them. If it is found wrong, well, it is unfortunate for him because it is his integrity which is at stake, not mine. Now, the issue of what happened in terms of a journalist, well, this is a civilized society. Clearly, we want civilized Gambians who will see everybody as brothers and sisters. Clearly, the profession one practices is for their life. You don't even know what party those people support. Journalists belong to different political parties. Even on this table, there are different political parties. So essentially, this is a Gambia where we have political pluralism, that people are entitled to support the party of their choice. And when you are a public figure, you have to be subjected to rigorous, let's call it interrogation. That's not the right word, but that's what it amounts to. And if you don't want that, then don't be a public figure. So if you don't want also people to align against you or attack you or even criticize you, well, essentially that's what public service is all about. It's being criticized, it's being scrutinized, is being subject to restraint, so that you think twice about what you say and do. Because you are not speaking for yourself, you are speaking for the public as a whole. You do not intend to represent yourself, you intend to represent people. So, and people are diverse in their thinking. That's why even the Constitution emphasizes that our public media, private media, should be open to divergent views and dissenting opinion. That is a constitutional requirement, is a constitutional mandate of the media. So essentially, if you want journalists who are not critical, then you don't want journalists. And obviously, I think the action is regretted. I will not talk about the person being whoever is involved, subjected to justice. I think what is expected is to be subjected to some sense of humanization, so that at least the person will have this decency to see the person offended and apologize and shake hands and say, we are brothers after all. This was a mistake in judgment.
I am Mr. Salon Sarita, Mr. Salah, you think how soon will the President Barrow and his coalition members will finalize everything, because Gambians are still in a worry concerning about the National Assembly candidate?
Well, it is said that it's today, and don't quote me. I'm just simply saying what was said yesterday, that is today. So don't say if it does not finish today, that Halifa Saleh said it will finish today, and it has not happened. I am told at the conference that it will finish today. It is supposed to be done today. But you know also that nomination is starting on the 9th. So I'm sure that they will definitely be working very fast to come to conclusion. But I've also emphasized that Gambians through this experience are now liberated. They really know who they are and their powers. Because to be able to go and vote and for an entrenched power to disappear is a clear indication that every Gambian has a real power to determine the destiny of this land and should not in any way mortgage it or sell it or decide to abandon it for any purpose.
Yeah, good afternoon, Mr. Salah. My name is Kamal.
So I have another program at 3. I have to do some writing. So limit here. It should not pass 10 minutes now.
The aspiring independent candidates, because now you're going for a tactical alliance, and this depends on the parties, how are the parties going to put their candidates. So would this not give chance to more independent party candidates in the National Assembly? Thank you, sir.
Well, the elections are yet to take place, and therefore we cannot start the process of analyzing the outcome. Now, we can only speculate, and everybody is really free to speculate what the outcome would be. I'm sure that during the debate that we had, all those points were examined, but at the end of the day, well, the conclusion is as stated.
My name is Kamal Wale. I work for the BBC at PW. I want to know the six parties that anyone candidature. The one that was for independent and the one who's neutral.
Well, the six stakeholders, I'm sure you already know. So if I mention the one that stuck to the independent and the neutral, that should tell you the rest. The PPP stuck to the independent coalition, whilst they express neutrality.
Good afternoon, Mr. Honorable Salah. My name is Mamadou Diallo, of the Gambia Intelligence Services. Now, as we speak, already there's a lot of political activity across the country. Guys do rumble here. On the ground, you have multiple candidates who seem to represent different political parties, including those of the parliament in the National Assembly elections. I know you've been discussing the modalities, but do you take into consideration the fact that there are maybe 3 or 4 candidates representing different parties within the coalition who will be vying for seats? How would you reach a compromise to that effect?
Well, those are questions that I clearly cannot answer because the modalities are being worked out. But that is the situation, those are the challenges envisaged. And the parties, the stakeholders must address those challenges. So anything could be anticipated. I believe you know that the 2012 National Assembly elections was contested by only one opposition party. The rest were independent candidates. So this country is rife with political activities and different form of political approaches. So in many instances, your decision should be made in a wise way to enhance your chances. So essentially, it's a multi-party system, not only multi-party, but a pluralistic political system where even independent candidates could participate. So in essence, we wait for the outcome and then do the analysis to be able to draw lessons.
Henrik Weber, I work for a tactical alliance of 40 German newspapers. I don't want to interrupt the discussion about domestic problems and tactics, but our leadership in Europe, we are very, very interested how fast and productive the relationship between the Gambia and the European Union and Britain and Germany developed. Now my question is, when you have the transitional government is established, is there a consensus within the coalition parties about the direction which is a prerequisite for this new relationship with, not only with the EU, but with international bodies like the understanding, acceptance of International Convention of Human Rights and so on. And combined with that, what happened to your commitment, or not commitment, to the agreement with the EU, that every effort is taken to keep young Gambians in the Gambia and encourage young Gambians with their knowledge to return to their country. Is there a consensus in the coalition that this is going to be continued with the new parliament and so on? Thank you very much.
Well, we are talking about three entities at the same time. We're talking about the coalition of stakeholders, which we call Coalition 2016, which is an instrument to bring stakeholders together to contest elections. And we are talking about the government, which emerged out of the victory of 1st December 2016. And we are talking about a coalition again for National Assembly elections. So when it comes to the coalition, I can speak for it. But then, yes, I used to be a spokesperson for President Barrow prior to the consolidation of the cabinet. But then the cabinet is now consolidated. And I'm sure that your interview of the Minister of Foreign Affairs should be able to tell you the international relation perspective of the government. But the coalition that brought the government about did have discussion and dialogue with the EU delegation resident in the Gambia. And there is absolutely no doubt that we have looked at the Article 8, Article 9, which deals with the political dialogue and the issues that are inherent in terms of respect for fundamental rights, rule of law, democracy, and good governance, which must underpin the relation between the EU and the country. But if you want to go into details of policy, then you must go to the policymakers, and the policymakers will constitute the president, the vice president, and the ministers. I am sure once you contact the president, he will direct you to the right minister to be able to address the concrete proposals that you are making and government position on it.
My name is Abdullah Si. I work with the Gambia Regulatory Services. My question is, already there are some people who are identified as coalition candidates for the National Assembly before the agreement with this tactical alliance issue. What happens to them? Another issue is, some people say, okay, Mr. Saleh didn't take a cabinet position. That makes it, evident that, we are more supportive of the president than he is. You said you want to contest in the National Assembly. I agree that you cannot be in the cabinet and be in the National Assembly because of the situation of those in the constitution. But then, notwithstanding, you are not only the member of DOI, no DOI member is in the cabinet. What happened? Can you please explain to us why there isn't any member from the DOI in the cabinet? And lastly, we understand that Mr. Dabo, as Hussein Dabo said on Sunday at the press conference, that the agreement reached by the coalition that the president is going to serve only 3 years is illegal. What happens? What happens next? Because he said he's going to fight it at the Supreme Court to ensure that President Barrow serves 5 days in office instead of 3 years. Can you respond to that?
Well, maybe we'll enlarge the press conference. Then the starting point, what happens to those who saw themselves as coalition candidates? Well, they will continue to aspire and work for their candidature. And I'm sure when this dialogue takes place for modalities, they should be taken into consideration, knowing that anybody can stand as an independent candidate. Nobody can be deprived of candidature. These are just tactical alliances. They are not means of barring people. That's what I'm trying to say. What has happened is an issue of a coalition trying to at least avoid fracture and rancor. But essentially, no one can deprive a Gambian of a right to stand to seek the mandate of the people if the people so wish for you to be their candidate. That's my first answer. The second thing is about the position of DOI in the cabinet. We have always tried to avoid people using us to pursue other ends and using our answers to create more friction. We were offered ministerial posts under Jammeh's government, under other governments, but we have always developed principles in terms of what we do. In terms of government, we believe in the principle of separation of party and state. I don't want to stretch this because many people will stretch what I'm going to say to try to harm the government, and that's what I'm avoiding. Because if you compare our principle and other people's principle, you'll start judging other people. But go to what I said when I was a presidential candidate, what I said. There is no need to repeat it unless you push me to do so. But essentially, there are fundamental principles which will not make me to continue to be the Secretary General of DOI if I am to be a cabinet minister in a particular government. So essentially, we have talked about it. We have talked about our position with the president. We've reached understanding. We have respect. We are working very closely, more closely than many of you people think, and you even know. Some are just closing their eyes to it. And essentially, we know that the government knows that there is no single individual in this country that has worked so hard to make what is possible to be possible today. So people forget too easily, and they want to transform us into megalomaniacs who will start praising ourselves and telling people what we have done, to show that we are supportive of a government. But we will not be tempted to do so. But essentially what must be borne in mind is that the position of the party is very clear. We are situated in the National Assembly to be able to guide the government in the laws that are going to be made, in the policies that will be taken, in the international relations it will contract, so that our quota will be there on a broad basis, not just one organ, but on a broad basis in ensuring democracy, good governance, rule of law, and development for the country. Now, in terms of what Mr. Dabo has said, I really don't think there is any need to go to any Supreme Court for any reason of that matter, because this is just simply a gentle person's agreement that a person will be there for 3 years. What the Constitution says is very clear, that any president elected has a mandate for 5 years. Now, if you want to transform a gentle person's agreement into a contract that is constitutional, then you must engage in constitutional amendments. What anybody would oppose is just to say that there will never be a constitutional amendment that will enable the person who is president to be able to resign after 3 years and say that this is my mandate that I agreed with coalition partners as a tactic for others to give way for a person to proceed, because without that maybe there would have been more rancor, and at the end of the day there would have been no coalition at all. So all the things that were said and done were just simply meant to facilitate the selection of one person to be the presidential candidate. Now, what the Constitution says at the present moment is that it's 5 years. But if you go to recommendations made by the then Gambia Opposition for Electoral Reform, is for constitutional provision to be put in the Constitution, where if a president resigns, dies, or whatever, the vice president will stay for 90 days. And after the 90 days, there will be elections of a president. So if you put that in a constitution, then obviously a person who is willing will be able to actually resign, and then there will be election of president. But these are all issues that are not worth debating at the moment. What is important is the person who has been elected president can simply say, I'll be there for 5 years. And obviously, that is what is going to stand. He does not need any help from anybody to stay for 5 years. It depends on him, because that's what the Constitution says. Just simply don't resign, or simply don't amend the Constitution, and the 5 years will remain. Thank you.
We're taking the last question now. All right.
The 6 parties are going for tactical alliance. One, that's the DPP for vying for independence, and BY is neutral. Is this a good political strategy for the coalition as far as this forthcoming National Assembly is concerned? Thank you, sir.
Well, I think it is already clear that there are diverse opinions as far as strategy. One opinion is that no, party-led is not, party candidature is not the best. Another is saying independent candidature is not the best. Those are the two positions. What has been done is to try as much as possible to facilitate the nomination of candidates. And that is why a decision has been made. A decision is not necessarily a gospel. Other parties may decide to say, let me break away and put everybody anywhere. But that is an issue for those who are sitting down to discuss the modalities. Until the modalities are discussed, one would not be able to know what the different positions are, if they are, for example, contradiction, because the objective is for one party from the coalition or one stakeholder to stand in each constituency so that there will be no duplication, which, of course, would be the best for the coalition if it does not want division within its ranks. The aim of putting the independent coalition was meant precisely to do so that all of them would participate in the selection process. But this one, each party will determine its selection process and submit its candidate, and then they will negotiate whether you will accept this one to stand here or that one to stand there. Those are the modalities. I'm sure when it is done, we'll be able to interrogate what difficulties, what challenges it had to overcome to succeed.
Thank you very much, Honorable. Thank you very much, Honorable Halifa Saleh. We now come to the end of this press conference. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Since you have an official statement, can we get a copy of it?
Has it been?